are happy to be back with another video. Before we get started, here is a disclaimer. The information in this video is based on information in the public domain. We are not in any shape or form trying to create malicious content or smear anyone mentioned. With that being said, let's get started. Apparently, not even being filmed can stop some people from deliberately being racist. From using offensive racial slurs to downright making fun of other races, here are the top celebrities and politicians who did racist things on TV. Jimmy Kimmel. Everyone knows by now that comedians have a long past of either using racial slurs or doing overall offensive acts, and TV host Jimmy Kimmel is not an exception. In the late 90s, Kimmel had made it into a routine making a blackface impersonation of NBA star Karl Malone. This sketch appeared on Comedy Central's The Man Show. Following backlash from these old clips resurfacing, Kimmel announced that he was taking the summer to spend time with his family, although he insisted it didn't have to do with the online criticism. Shane Gillis. There has to be a record of how fast comedian Shane Gillis was fired from Saturday Night Live after his racist past and use of homophobic and misogynistic language were uncovered. He lasted a whopping 4 days. But as it turns out, only a year prior, Gillis said several offensive terms on a podcast he shared. Many of the comments he said were aimed at Asian people, even speaking directly about presidential candidate Andrew Yang. It should be noted that part of Gillis's stand-up set for Comedy Central includes joking about stereotypes about white people, but those were self-deprecating. When speaking on his podcast, however, he didn't hold back, even publicly speaking about his annoyance at Asian people at restaurants who can't speak English. Don Young. Although he later claimed that he meant no disrespect, it's kind of hard to believe Representative Don Young had any good intentions in mind when he delivered the worst interview in his career. When talking about Latino farm workers, the rep used the term wetbacks, which is a term that surfaced in the 1920s and in the 1950s, where it was the name of a controversial government immigration program called Operation Wetback, whose purpose was to deport undocumented migrant workers. However, even his apologetic statement wasn't well received, with the likes of House Speaker John Boehner saying that he didn't care why he said it and that it was overall offensive. George Allen. Curious as to how one campaign stop can ruin your career and put a halt to being a potential presidential candidate? Just ask former Republican Senator George Allen. In his 2006 re-election bid, when referring to an Indian American volunteer filming Allen's Democratic opponent, Allen used the term macaca. In history, that racial epithet has been used against people of African descent. To quote Allen, he said, "Let's give a welcome to macaca here, welcome to America and the real world of Virginia." Following this incident and his lackluster apology, during which he stated, "I do apologize if he's offended by that. That was no way the point," Allen lost his re-election bid. Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy Kimmel isn't the only late-night TV host on our list. Next up is Jimmy Fallon, who wore blackface back in the days of Saturday Night Live. The year was 2000, and he didn't face a lot of criticism at the time. However, fans, writers, and critics have found the sketch, which involved impersonating Chris Rock, too offensive. Believe it or not, the comedian and host tried to revive this impression in 2017 at the Golden Globes. Joseph Maturo Jr. As a politician, you would think it's surprisingly easy to not say a derogatory remark about the Latino community when interviewed on local TV. East Haven Mayor Joseph Maturo Jr. shocked the world with his response to how he would help the Latino community after facing allegations that his police department was racially profiling Latinos. He said, and to directly quote him, "I might have tacos when I go home, I'm not quite sure yet." Although he later apologized, the critics were merciless, as well as his fellow politicians. To pay him back, an immigrant rights group sent 500 beef tacos to his office. Justin Trudeau. We can thank Time magazine for unveiling Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's surprising look at an Arabian Night-themed party in 2001. Trudeau was 29 years old at the time, and his costume consisted of a turban and brown face. A closer look at the school's yearbook, according to Time, showed that Trudeau was the only one there who had worn brown face. Later on, Trudeau issued an apology to reporters, saying that he didn't consider it racist at the time. However, he added that he had previously worn blackface at a high school talent show. He'd don an afro wig as well as sang the Jamaican folk song, Deo. Gigi Hadid. In a widely controversial clip that has drawn the ire of many fans, model Gigi Hadid is sitting at a birthday dinner. The camera zooms in just as she holds up a cookie with Buddha's face on it and squinting to mimic it. This action has been called anything from wrong to ignorant to rude to downright racist, with people bashing her for her mockery of Asian people. The footage, originally shared by her sister Bella Hadid, was promptly deleted. Joe Biden. Anyone watching more than a few Joe Biden interviews knows that the U.S.'s former vice president and current president has a problem speaking in interviews. However, there's a line between putting your foot in your mouth and making a racist remark. In 1977, he said that forced busing to desegregate schools would cause his children to grow up in a racial jungle. In 2007, speaking with the New York Observer of his then-rival Obama, Illinois Senator Biden said, "You've got the first mainstream African-American who is articulate and bright and clean and a nice-looking guy. I mean, that's a storybook man." In 2006, when the senator said, "In Delaware, the largest growth in population is Indian Americans moving from India. You cannot go to a 7-Eleven or a Dunkin' Donuts unless you have a slight Indian accent. I'm not joking." August 2019, at a campaign event in Iowa, Biden told supporters that, quote, "Poor kids are just as bright and talented as white kids." After some applause, he quickly corrected himself by adding wealthy kids, black kids, Asian kids. In May 2020, on Charlemagne the God radio show, Biden asserted that the predominantly black audience, quote, "Well, I told you what, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black," end of quote. Then in August 2020, Biden told a gathering of Black and Hispanic journalists that, unlike the African American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. And that's all on celebrities and politicians who did racist things on TV. Do you have a topic you want us to discuss? Please share with us in the comments below. Like and share with your loved ones. And don't forget to subscribe. Click the notification bell to be notified when we upload new videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace.